You find a photo of yourself from 5 years ago. For a few seconds, you smile, but then you realize that while time kept moving, very little has changed on the inside. You haven't lived 5 years. You've lived the same year 5 times over. This stagnation happens because our brains are built for survival, not fulfillment. For millennia, noticing danger kept us alive, locking our survival mode switch on. This system ignores quiet positive moments and hyperfixates on threats, pulling jagged danger nodes into a loop of worry. When safety is the only priority, your brain treats any new action as a risk. It says you're too old, too late to start, ensuring you stay put to avoid the unknown. Because this loop is a biological default, waiting for the right time won't work. Reclaiming the next 5 years requires us to manually install routines that override these survival instincts. We start by challenging the dramatic predictions the brain makes before we even try something new. When your mind insists you'll fail or be rejected, it's making a guess based on imagination, not experience. You bypass this wall of predictions by running small experiments. Instead of deciding a new group won't like you, you start one conversation. Instead of assuming you can't learn technology, you watch one lesson. These glowing data points give you something your imagination can't: evidence. While we test reality, we also have to change what we notice. Our threat detection system is addicted to loud, immediate problems: the texts, the chores, the small fires. But beneath that noise sits a quiet pathway of things that actually grow a life over time. Psychology shows us that whatever we give our attention to grows. If your focus is always on the loudest alarm, your days will eventually feel like one continuous emergency. You break this by carving out space for the quiet things: calling a friend, practicing a hobby, or reading. These moments don't buzz or send notifications, which is exactly why they are so easy to push aside. Consistently choosing these small experiments and quiet priorities over the loud demands of the day begins to starve the brain's panic response. You stop reacting to old stories and start building new ones. This shift also requires rebalancing how we process daily events. Because of our negativity bias, one criticism can feel heavier than 10 compliments, effortlessly catapulting your wins out of sight. You can force this scale back into balance by intentionally holding on to what went right. Simply asking, "What went well today?" at the end of the night forces your brain to log the positive data it usually discards. Even with better data, difficult emotions will still show up like unexpected guests. The default response is to treat these visitors like they own the house, letting anxiety tell us where to go, or letting sadness decide if we get out of bed. Think of your emotions like a rainstorm hitting your windshield. The rain changes the road, and it might make the drive more difficult, but the weather doesn't have to choose your destination. You can feel the weight of an emotion and still keep your hands on the wheel. When you view these feelings as temporary messages rather than commands, you stop letting a passing mood dictate the direction of your year. The final habit deals with the brain's hatred of unanswered questions. When we have missing information, like a friend sounding distant on the phone, our minds rush to fill that gap with a negative story. We can break that reflex by looking for a second explanation. This is called cognitive flexibility. By asking what else could explain this, you split that single negative assumption into several distinct possibilities. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they're just in a hurry. This flexibility allows you to choose curiosity over certainty. Rigid thinking causes us to struggle when life goes off script, because we spend all our energy trying to force reality to match our expectations. A curious mind asks, "What if I learned just a little?" instead of deciding, "I'll never get this." This keeps you moving forward, regardless of whether you succeed or fail at the first attempt. Replacing rigid assumptions with curiosity changes the future from a source of threat into a space for exploration. It stops the loop by keeping the mind open to being surprised. These shifts only work if they last. The reason most attempts at change fail is that we rely on the initial rush of motivation, which always fades. To keep these habits alive, they have to be small enough that the brain doesn't see them as a threat. We're looking for actions that feel almost too insignificant to matter. That means reading for only 5 minutes or writing down just one sentence about your day. These micro-adjustments are how you build a new routine without triggering the survival system's alarm. Then you connect these small steps to the photo we started with. You practice these habits because of the specific person you want to be 5 years from now, someone who is still growing, still learning, and still present. If you have a day where you slip back into old worries, don't treat it as a failure. It's like stepping off a hiking trail. You don't have to go back to the start. You simply step back onto the path and keep walking. These small steps, repeated over time, are what determine your next 5 years. One of the most important parts of this journey is learning to enjoy your own company along the way, a topic we'll explore in our next video on the psychology of being alone after 60.